Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the first session of Athena 2021. I am Alex from Showcode. It's great to have everybody here, joined by Angelo Fienga from Cisco and Will, our CEO from ShowX. I'll pass over to Will now for a quick intro of the session and a quick intro of what we've got coming up over the next couple of weeks.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Athena 2021. We're bringing you an amazing 2-week tech festival, action-packed agenda, full of workshops, talks, panels that are going to be happening every day. And just to break it down, we've got about 10 workshops covering learning in Python, VR, building APIs. We've got talks covering some really key topics happening in the industry, how to get involved in the industry, and then some really some exciting panels that are going to create lots of debates and discussions. And then the big one, which is the hack itself, that's happening this weekend, which is obviously all built around the circular economy, which we're going to find out in a minute what it is and what it's all about, and how you can help to tackle that in the hack this weekend. So I just want to quickly break down what's happening today, and then I'm going to send you to the website for the remainder of the week where you can see all the different sessions. But today, as I said, we've got the introduction to the circular economy. Then at 12:30 today, we've got a data-driven experience with no cadence from the University of Cambridge. At 3 o'clock this afternoon, we've got a paired and mob programming online with Heather Poole from the Ministry of Justice. And then this afternoon at 5 o'clock this evening, we're back with Cisco with an intro to serverless with chatbots. As I said, if you want to find any more further information, please go to showcode.io and click on the Athena tab, and that will break down all the talks each by day and who's going to be appearing. So I just want to say a massive thank you to all our partners who have been involved. That includes Cisco, Nationwide Building Society, Goldman Sachs, Lloyds, NHS Digital, Bumble, Vodafone, Debut, Lewagon, CoClan, and North Coders. Thank you so much for all your input, participation. Without you, we could not be putting on this event. So thank you very, very much. And finally, just want to say, obviously, the festival and the hack, it's all geared towards to champion and encourage women in technology. But most importantly, and really so, is to inspire those and really inspire the younger generation. I think it's more important than ever that we get the kids at school, the young girls, excited about technology, what it can be as an industry, how they can get involved in it, and how they can make an impact, and how we can all work together and strive to create an inclusive and diverse industry as a whole. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy everything we've got planned, and I think all the sessions are going to be recorded. So if you do miss any sessions, they will be able to view those on YouTube afterwards. But now let's pass you on to Angelo at Cisco, who will be talking all about the circular economy. So thank you very much, and best of luck. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Will, and thank you very much, Alex. And thank to everyone that is attending to this session. Let me share my PowerPoint. I'm Angelo Fienga. I'm a business architect in the EMEA Center of Excellence in Cisco, and I'm taking care of circular economy and sustainability. And what I'm going to talk about today is, to share with you a general intro how circular economy and sustainability, how we are managing in Cisco in possibly the broadest possible sense, and also I'm going to share with you a proof of concept, a lab that I personally built to create one potential use case for circular economy applied to the world of fashion and retail. So I will share with you the detail of the lab that we built and how we essentially created use cases that are kind of matching what I'm going to share first. So why shall we do this? What are the advantages we're giving? What are the opportunity we are creating and pursuing? So, Alex, I think you should see my slides. If so, I can proceed, correct?
Yeah, all good.
Very well, thank you. So first of all, why circular economy? How are we accelerating the program? Well, The way we're doing this at Cisco goes for 3 major steps. The first one is about empowering people, so being as much inclusive as possible, and in making people able to uh, achieve their goals, to achieve innovation. So scanning through inclusive social and economic impact into multiple countries and around the world. And the Cisco Academy is one example of this, how we are sharing the knowledge, how we are sharing the capability with people in order to enable them to achieve their goal. And last but not least, with a very strong passion and hopefully impact for the planet. So embracing more and more sustainable path, sustainable ideas, sustainable technology to allow a sustainable growth in a digital world. So you may have heard this word, green and blue. Green for sustainability, blue for digitization. This is actually my personal mantra, green and blue. Use digitization to enable sustainability and circularity. Let's talk a little bit about circularity. So what is circular economy? Maybe you already heard about that, but it's worth to repeat, just to put in the context of what we are doing, what we are discussing today. That is how we can make business, how we can transform this, how we can make an hackathon about this. So circular economy is a definition as opposed to the linear economy that you see here. Linear economy is the consolidated process we have been used from thousands of years. Take resources, make things, and then dispose them as soon as this is resources or things are not useful anymore. But this is a lot to do. I mean, more than technology, with our lifestyle. And guess what? It is not a sustainable approach. I mean, it makes a lot of sense understanding that if you simply dispose things, sooner or later resources are going to run out. Circular economy is about creating multiple new paths, new life cycles, new opportunity for things. In broader terms, for materials to be used more and more. Essentially, it is creating what you see here, circles around us as a consumer and around the things we are creating. In order to maybe reshare things, to repair, recycle, reuse, in order to create multiple life cycles to the material that we're extracting from the planet, in order to make this as much sustainable as possible. As you can imagine, this is about data. It's about putting things in cycle, but it's about creating a huge amount of data that need to be secured, that need to be transported, needs to be orchestrated and transformed into knowledge, into actionable knowledge. A lot of new business cases are happening, are showing that are not used today, but that can bring to a huge value in the material procurement, in a supply chain, in the smart logistics, customer loyalty, cross upsell, or subscription rental. And guess what? All of this is based on the capability to create those loops and to create the associated data for those loops. Why shall we do this? Of course, we can do and we want to do because it's the right things for the planet, but also because there is a huge, massive market opportunity associated to this. This is a number from an Accenture analysis, but you can find more and more around. Just last week, I think I put a slide in the deck. Bain, a couple of weeks ago, provided an analysis for exactly for fashion, that is, the fashion and retail. That is actually the use case I'm going to discuss later about the lab we built. So there is a lot of money associated to this. You may have heard about the European Recovery and Resiliency Fund, 672 billion, I think, associated to the resilience recovery, and 50% of this, so 383 billions, is about digitization, 37%, sorry, sustainability, 37%, and digitization, 27%. So there is a huge opportunity, huge economical opportunity behind that. And how we are facing this. This is our approach inside Cisco. We define a sustainability strategy, sustainable and circular strategy for ourselves. And it goes through 5 pillars. The first one is about the circular design. We strongly believe that things has to be designed to be circular, designed to be sustainable, in order for them to be repaired, to be reused, to be repurposed. Things that are in a specific Cisco box can be possibly reused, can be possibly refurbished or repurposed. That's something that we put as a main target in our production plan. Same, we're applying circular operations. So essentially, we are striving to reduce the consumption and the use of resources, moving to renewable resources more and more in every single step in our value chain. Some of our buildings in specific countries or specific, let's say, Cisco operation are carbon neutral in specific countries. Also, the third pillar is about consumption. The way we see things are not only, building solutions, building boxes of technology that are sustainable, but also making the way people is using sustainable as well. So with the capability of having our gears to run in multiple life cycles, potentially can help a lot, and we are providing this as an opportunity to our customer. And I'm going to give you some more details later about that. And last but not least, the last 2 pillars. The first one where I'm deeply involved is the circular solution. So the capability to build solutions that are circular per se, that are enabling other partners, customers to become circular, to enable circular business model. And last but not least, ecosystem leadership. Help and partner with other companies that, just like us, have the circularity and sustainability in mind through collaboration, contributing to public policy, but also doing things like something we did a few months ago with an important bank in Italy, signing an MOU to jointly push common customer in moving to a circular economy sustainable approach. And the way we do this is also by monitoring our achievement. This is something I like to share because is in our corporate social responsibility document, is a public document where we are sharing what we are targeting versus what we achieved. And as you can see, all the goals we gave to ourselves, we are constantly monitoring to match. We are in the right direction, in the right path. And very, very much interestingly, for some of them, we are not only on track, but I would say also ahead of the curve, and that is really good. Things like reducing the scope 1 and scope 2 greenhouse gases emission, or manufacturing components from companies that have public target for reducing the GHG, as well as implementing and working to reduce our scope 3 emission. That essentially means the energy that are used by our gears in our customer facility. So we are working at 360 degrees and monitoring all the metrics to make sure that we're going to achieve all these goals. And of course, this implies some if you're doing properly, this implies to have some public recognition from Barron's, from the Dow Sustainability Index, Gartner Supply Chain, etc., etc. The reason why I'm setting this is because I like to share things that are successful, things that proved to be successful, potentially can be a sort of inspiration for applying similar models. Now, let's talk about how we can enable that. That is and how we, Cisco, we can help with that. So is the life cycle management of IT, but seen from a green perspective, from a circular perspective. So these are the area where we can have an influence. That is, making, as I say, building product with the circularity and sustainability in mind, but also help people in using technology in a way that is efficient, with, of course, product efficiency in terms of energy consumption, but also in supporting the hardware, the software to make the product as much effective as possible. And last but not least, when the life cycle, when the end of life for specific things is, knocking at the door, what can we do to make that more sustainable and more circular? In the make, definitively something that we are doing is going through the supply chain optimization, as well as in the material selection and in the design criteria of our solution. I think, this is a perfect example of this. And this is just one example of the many I could show, but it's particularly relevant because it belongs to the architecture I'm working in, that is the collaboration architecture. This is the Cisco phone made with the reused plastic. So we took control of our own cycle of plastic for the phones. And for the 8800 series is just the first of others that will come, is made with closed loop plastic with 100% post-consumer recycled resins. So essentially, we are building new gears with things coming from old gears. And again, this is just an example of other solution we have in place. For instance, we are designing routers or more complex boxes with the possibility to reuse either a single part of that or to refurbish or to repurpose the full box as well. Use product efficiency initiative. We are working to improve as much as we can, all our gears, our capability, identifying potentially alternative method for cooling things in order to reduce the energy also generated by the energy consumption generated by cooling as well, And just for sharing one data point, when we introduced Silicon One chipset, a key chipset for the Cisco strategy, we worked to make that with the sustainability in mind. So reducing more and more the energy consumption by the optimization of hardware itself. Let me go into the reuse and recycle. So a couple of programs I want to talk about are Take Back and Refresh. So this was a pledge signed, I think, in 2018 by Chuck Robbins, our CEO, at the Davos event. So we signed a pledge stating that we are going to freely collect, pick up all the Cisco gear everywhere in the world. So the use of Cisco gear everywhere in the world. So instead of storing and taking space somewhere else, we are taking all the gears and we are essentially transforming, where possible, to a new life. Blades, boards, memory, things after being cleaned are possibly sent to a second life or a third life in order to make that piece of material, the material used for creating that specific board, having multiple lives, being used more and more. This goes along with a second program that we put together, that is the Cisco Refresh. So the possibility to use remanufactured equipment by Cisco. Again, we are taking things back, we are spending money to collect and transform in something new, and then we are making this available for people to use a refreshed solution, so that the overall impact of the solution that we are producing is lower and lower. So this is a way to make the adoption of technology more and more sustainable. And then finally, technology as an enabler. So the mantra here is about data. So connect the unconnected. So just like and this will be a very important theme in what we're going to discuss later, especially in the discussion of the use cases and the discussion in the lab. As I shared in the very beginning of this presentation, moving from a linear to a circular economy is creating loops for things. Loops where things need to be tracked and where data is generated and where information and knowledge can be extracted from that data to create new business model, to optimize the life cycle, to essentially build solutions that today are simply not existing. Well, all that data is based on the concept of collecting data point, collecting information. So if I want to enable a smart city, just like we're going to discuss later, we need to have sensors. If we want to track, the life cycle of something, we need to take snapshot of the history of that particular things along its life cycle to understand how to best use, what it is, what it's doing, and how can it best use at the end of the life. So connect and gather data that are helpful for the next step, that is unlock the power of data. This is generally associated to the data analytics, to the AI, but is extracting information and then knowledge from that data. I think it will be more clear in the example I'm going to share later in this deck. And last but not least, with the power of knowledge and things, you can put things in a circular loop. So you can make things being used more and more, knowing that things can be used because of the data and because of the knowledge that you have extracted in the previous point. So let me share with you some real life example of what I'm talking before we go to the description of the lab. So these are three specific use cases: smart city, manufacturing, and the harbor, where we applied what I say, to transform. So let me check if no, okay. So Caldas da Rainha is a city in Portugal, and the solution there, or actually the approach from the city, was extremely interesting. Their objective was we want to improve the quality of life of citizens. So nothing at all, apparently, about technology. We want to improve the quality of life of citizens. And guess what? Let me jump to the outcomes. The outcomes were about reducing the waste of water and the cost associated to the waste of water, optimizing the waste collection, and through the application of smart sensors to the parking, deeply, or reducing sensibly the time for people to find the parking slot. That was amazing. So you see, improving the quality of life of people, and then saving water, improving waste, and reducing the parking time for people in a city. Can you imagine the impact on the sustainability, the impact in terms of greenhouse gases equivalent CO2, just because of people, wasting less time for searching for a park, or saving a precious resource like water? Okay, between the objective and the outcomes, there is technology. There are sensors used to monitor the water leakages, the traffic in the city, the parking slot, the trucks for garbage collection. All of this, a sensor with a lot of, generating a lot of data transformed into knowledge to achieve, the outcome. Mock flooring is very interesting. Is what I call the circular economy squared, since Mock Flooring itself is a company that is a circular economy company. They use a plastic bottle and transform them into, carpet, into living things, things for living. And through the application of sensors, so let's say understanding what is happening in the production place has been instrumental to improve. So as you see there, saving money, having much more efficient production in the production chain as well, 12% productivity for employees, and saving in terms of overall saving for energy and less, outages and so on, with a huge impact on the impact of the on the sustainability of the factory itself. That is a circular economy factory. So this is extremely impactful, as you can imagine, from sustainability and circular economy perspective. Another example is the port of Rotterdam. I like this because it's about a different vertical, is transport, but it's a very interesting use case where expanding your sensor network, so your capability to gather data from the environment, to understand the environment, collecting, brokering, transforming information, has allowed to decrease the waste of time. So, for instance, adding a better management of the ship orchestration, ship flows, within and outside the harbor, had a huge impact on the schedule, of course, but on the pollution as well. So extremely relevant in terms of reducing the impact of and improving the sustainability of a huge, I think, one of the largest harbor in the world. And again, between the outcome and the objective, there is a blend of technology and the data transformation that links the two things. A few other examples I like to show. This is a smart building, I think is in Canada. And again, look at the challenge. Create a sustainable building. We want to have energy efficiency. And guess what? Look at the result. 12% reduction in lighting energy usage. 12 fewer carbon emission than similar buildings. How can you achieve that? You can achieve by understanding what's not working, and you can do this by leveraging sensors, leveraging technology that can give you the information that you need to transform and convert in powerful data, and powerful knowledge. I think this is the last use case before we jump into the specific use case I want to show you. This is manufacturing for food, I think for animals. And this was very interesting use case because we started straight from the company CSR, so the company social responsibility document, looking at area they wanted to improve, including water management, including water supply, yes, of course, but also energy management and so on. And by the digitization, by connecting the plant in real time, connecting the people, and that's the very important point, connecting people and the objects. So having the people the possibility to look in real time within things that are going well or bad, within the plant, allowed to have a major saving in water, in the use of electricity, and at the end of the day in the emission. This is the green aspect, but also you can imagine with the major impact in terms of cost reduction, and that is definitely something that is extremely beneficial for the company. Now, let's look to the use case I want to talk about. This is an initiative we started with luxury retailer. Again, this is luxury retailer, but the same approach can be identified and can be possibly applied to other kind of retailers. So the challenge is how do we create? Oh, by the way, forgot to mention I'm a data scientist, of course, but one of my second soul is about design thinking. So I think very much in terms of needs and how needs can be satisfied. And the need here, the challenge, if you want, was how do we create an omnichannel customer experience for a circular fashion through creating a model like rentals, subscription rental, returns, and resale. Why do we want to do this? Because we want things to be used more and more time, and potentially materials, nylon, cotton, whatever, going back to the store, potentially to be reused, or maybe a very valuable bag to go through a second life cycle if you decide to use a model like a subscription rental or rental, so to reuse things, to give a multiple lives to things and avoid them to go to the dump. So how can you do this? And here you have a very, let's say, high-level idea of the journey, what we call the journey to be, the journey that we see the customer can go through. So essentially, from when they purchase things, when the things are added to the digital closet, and that's very, very interesting, right? So it's the concept of a digitization of things. So adding sensors, and sensor actually can be as simple as this. Let me show you. As simple as a QR code on a label with maybe RFID and NFC inside. That's a sensor. It tells me something about the specific things I'm wearing, the shirt, or maybe it could be a much smarter sensor, such as we had in the lab, a sensor monitoring the quantity of liquid in a specific bottle. But okay, digitization is a keyword here. So we are adding information to things, and the level of information may be multiple. By adding and by tying the object to the sensor to the people, you are essentially creating a loop. You are creating, a link, let's say, between the object, the people, and the brand that can help it. And this is extremely relevant because it enables more use cases, commercial use cases, such as, for instance, the cross-sell, upsell, but also opens the possibility for the consumer to get access to a lot of information that may be relevant for him. So how to use the cloth in that case, or how can I share, or potentially show the customer itself in the social as an ambassador for sustainability and circularity. And then, behind the scene, having technology optimizing the retailer operation, optimizing the customer experience, optimizing we call the white glove experience when the customer is at the shop, or when a customer is at home and needs support, information, or maybe new offerings as well, or hints, simply hints for the day. And then again, depending on the level of sensor, from the information the sensor can give you, you can expand this more and more in terms of capabilities. Let me share with you a short video about this. And Alex, please let me know if you hear the sound.
Connected goods is a...
Can you hear, Alex?
Yeah, all good.
Okay.
Architecture solution addressing the $4.5 trillion opportunity known as the circular economy. In a circular economy, there is no waste. Instead, products and materials are reused, rented, repaired, repurposed, and recycled. Cisco's biggest customers are moving to circular models for many reasons, including consumer pressure, environmental regulations, and the rising cost of raw materials. So how does Cisco technology enable this circular economy? Our cross-architecture solution makes sharing information between producers and consumers effortless. And that in turn creates a continuous information bridge between a product's current life and its next. Let's look at an example in the retail sector. Let's say Jenny goes to a store to buy a shirt. But not just any shirt, a connected shirt designed for a circular world. Jenny opts into the loyalty program and adds the shirt to her digital closet. At home, Jenny's shirt sends tips on styling and garment care through a mobile app. Eventually, when Jenny gets tired of her shirt, she's offered an incentive to bring it back to the store for resale. It's a win for consumers, a win for brands, and a win for the planet. And it's all powered by Cisco. Behind the scenes, valuable user data is generated by IoT sensors and collected by Cisco. Data is then aggregated and orchestrated by IoT and DNA spaces to feed partner analytics. Jenny's mobile app is powered by collaboration APIs and AI contact center.
Okay.
Connected.
So what's the money behind that? I mean, why shall we do this? I just wanted to share this as a data point. I saw this from Bain & Company, and that's pretty interesting to me, because what it shows is that starting from this year, more and more value is coming from business cases that are associated to circularity and sustainability. So rental, resale. So you see, the margin of growth is much higher in the new business model than in the traditional one, the traditional sales. That is the why. That's actually why we want to be there. Now, let's look at the what we call the Cisco Connected Good demo architecture. Hopefully, this may be helpful for you in your hackathon. So, essentially, what we did, we built a lab, a physical lab, with 4 stations. Initially, we were 6, but we made a little bit simpler with 4 stations, simulating the circular life of a customer and of actually 3 objects. So starting from the store to the consumer home, to the return center, and to the sorting center. So the store is where you have the product description with SKUs. You have information, of course, about the object itself, and is actually where the association between actually among the objects, the consumer, and the brand is happening. That is where the digital closet, if you want, is created. Then you transition to the consumer home, where based on the sensor you have, you can interact with your things and interact with the brand. And interacting means that having AI-based information enabled by we use the WebEx Teams APIs to allow smart interaction between the user and an object. I will show you the object we used for the specific demo. There were not only a shirt, but we also had some more active sensors. We used a sensor for monitoring the liquid in a bottle, so for reusing plastic bottles. From the consumer center, as soon as the object is going to the end of life cycle, or the first life cycle, let's say, the return center is actually where you go back. Potentially is a specific location in the same shop you went for purchasing the object, or maybe something else, but conceptually is where you're bringing your stuff back, and where you apply the first logic. You are bringing back plastic, you're bringing back clothes, you're bringing back maybe metal things, a durable bottle, and where essentially you get rewarded for what you do. Consider you have sensors there, so the system is tracking what you're doing and is possibly rewarding you for what you do. And finally, you have the sorting center, that is potentially waste collection, or a dump, or a landfill, where a different logic is applied. So from let's say plastic, metal, and cotton, let's say your recycled fibers, you turn into recycle, repurpose, or burn, right? So you're applying a use logic to the object, to the things that you created, in the first return center. And to do this, of course, you use artificial intelligence, to make this as automated and streamlined as possible. I'm going to go through very quickly through the architecture so you have an idea what we did. So we at that time we used build.io as an orchestration engine using WebEx APIs to blend everything together, adding a SQL database for storing this lifecycle of objects, and MindMeld and Dialogflow to add the NLP language to the user experience. So at the end of the day, all the objects in our use cases were talking to you based on your language. So you could dialogue in natural language with things. We use also Water.io as a smart cap to monitor the level of liquids or water or liquids in general into the bottle. And we use the other sensor on the durable, temperature and temperature and location, and a QR code with RFID for the shirt. Yeah, we also use the everything is a portal to collect all the data point of the life cycle to share aggregated information through a portal that we built in it's a simple portal that we built in Cisco, what we call the Steward web app. The use case in the store is actually what is described here. So as soon as people is buying something, either using a QR code or an RFID, it is immediately associated to the object. So an email is sent to the people at the counter, to the people at the concierge, to get the customer email, and from that moment on, the customer is onboarded and is part of his own digital closet, and is put in a room in a WebEx space, to talk with the object and with the brand that is selected. So all this information is happening in real time. So you can see here there is a different, slightly different path for the QR code or the RFID, but the concept is exactly the same. Things are put together in a single place where everyone is talking to everyone and everything else. When the customer is at home, it just needs to tag the QR code to get information. And as you see, it gets information in real life language. So it can dialogue through NLP with the object or potentially with the brand and get relevant information, such as, for instance, I don't know, what's the weather today? Would you suggest me to take my pullover or my shirt, both connected, or maybe both? And the system is replying, providing relevant information from the customer. This is actually what makes the solution interesting, because it share relevant information for the customer. You can ask information about how to wash. In future, there will be sensor monitoring the heat of the washing. So potentially they can tell you if you're washing, if you're keeping your stuff as it should be kept, or if you're doing something bad. So the more information sensor will be able to share, the richer will be the interaction you can provide to the object. And the return center, we have a very interesting logic. So we have RFID reader associated to different bins. As I show you, we have clothes, we have durable bottles, and we have plastic bottles. And what is happening is that if you are disposing things in the wrong bin, the system, through your application, or potentially your application with the WebEx API embedded, or through the WebEx application itself, tells you that you're doing wrong. And if you are doing the right thing, so if you're shifting things, if you're moving things from the wrong bin to the right one, then you're going to get a reward. And these rewards may be a discount, maybe green credit, whatever. But the point is, it is actually where you know that you did the right thing and you're going to get rewarded for that. Last but not least, the sorting center, where AI is applied. We use a camera in particular there, a camera where just looking at object, it applied a specific logic. It was a simple logic in that case. So, for instance, clothes went all to recycle, and the plastic bottle went to burning, and the metal to repurpose and reuse. But the logic can be anything. The more knowledge you have about the material, how you can use them, the more sophisticated AI you can build in terms of changing the final destination logic. And all of this again, still keeping the user informed. Consider that as a user, I leave my stuff in the previous session in the return center, but still I am informed about how my things are going to their next end of life or the next cycle, because I want to be informed that everything I did has a scope, even after I'm leaving the object. So this is giving me some good information about what it is possible and what I achieved in terms of sustainability and green credit. And this is, yes, the object narrative. We created a specific narratives about objects. The more the object had lives, the more the narrative could have been improved, and giving information about how things are done in terms of making objects more and more sustainable. For instance, the shirts we used, the polo we used, were already coming from recycled material, but potentially, after multiple cycles, the percentage of recycled material could be even more. Or that shirt, after going in 2, 3, 4 lives, for a repurpose or for subscription rental, could have saved a higher higher value of CO2 just because it prevented it prevented other material, new material, to be used instead of again reusing the shirt itself. And now I want to close with my last minute with 1 minute video. This is coming from a partner, showing what the user experience could be. And you will not see technology here except for the social piece, but look what experience a customer could have.
What if the things I owned had an online profile just like me? If they were connected to the web, what could they do? Imagine the possibilities if the contents of my closet could be part of my digital life. My favorite brands could become my own personal stylists, giving me fashion tips and recommendations tailored to my style. And when the time comes for that spring clear out, they can help me recycle my clothing or donate it to a worthy cause.
Okay, this is my last slide, and I want just to recap, the very few points, yes, and I almost finished my time as well. Few points: sustainability, green economy, and digitization. They are essentially part of the same great initiative we are discussing here. How can we make sustainable business, green business? How can we enable that using technology? It's plenty of possibility around about that, and there is no better time than now because of all the initiatives that are happening at the European community, at the European level. The Resilience and Recovery Fund and more. And the digitization, the capability of gathering data, collecting information from sensor, transforming into information and into actionable knowledge is the enabler for us to make this transformation to happen and to enable use cases that are producing revenues, but at the same time are preserving the planet. And with this, let me stop my sharing and let me check with you, Alex, if there are specific answers about that.
I was going to say, thank you very much, Angelo. Great to have your time. If anyone has any questions, let us know on the YouTube channel. I see a couple of questions already. So just a quick one to start from Bindia around the kind of GDPR. I guess I don't know if you're in the best position to handle it, Angelo, but
Oh, yeah.
the GDPR considerations around the clothing and the sensors and things like that, and obviously
I
personal
totally
data.
understand that. Yeah. One of the key point, on top of this technology is one aspect, the cybersecurity. So we are talking about a lot of data. It has to be secured. I didn't mention, but this is the foundational element of what we're talking here. Cybersecurity. At the same time, of course, data has to be treated based on GDPR regulation, and this is already happening today when you are potentially participating to a frequent flyer or one of these programs, where you are sharing your data to get rewards or stuff like that. Is exactly the same thing. The difference is that we are generating much more data that needs to be protected and comply to the specific rules that are already applied today. I don't know if I answered to the question.
I think that sounds good. We've just kind of had a bit of a follow on as well from Cynthia in terms of, from a user feedback perspective, have you had any kind of info on people not wanting to be tracked and things like that?
The interesting thing is that this is not a forced approach. This is something that you can do voluntarily if you want to, have an advantage out of that. Again, it's just like an opt-in mechanism. You want to leverage the circular economy, let's say, program, or the sustainable program, or the green credit program. Of course, your data will needs to be treated properly, with the proper GDPR things, but is a completely volunteer thing, And the interesting thing is that the value that the brand can give back, for this is huge. It's not only the fact that I'm doing something good for the planet, but there are examples that are already existing today. Something happened also in my city, in Rome. They put this reverse vending machine where you can bring a plastic bottle back. They put in the metro station, and I think after, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 of that, they give you a free ticket or potentially a discount on your stuff, right? It's really it's a value for you, it's a value for the planet. And again, all of this, of course, has to be managed based on GDPR rules.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. I think we've got one more question at the minute around what is the most difficult material to recycle or use in your products?
Oh, in Cisco, you mean? Oh, this is I think we need to follow up with this question because we need to deal with business unit. I'm not an expert on materials. I know that there are specific paints that are, difficult. As a matter of fact, I think in one of the slides that I didn't show today, we told we explain how we are reducing the wet paints. But in terms of material, honestly, I think we need to check with the business units. If this is Cisco materials, if this is customer materials, we will ask them.
Yeah, I was going to say you can give your thoughts on customer materials if you want to give your thoughts on customer materials.
The
Cool.
interesting
So
thing,
then,
the most difficult thing in my view is not necessarily, knowing what you can do with something in particular, because potentially soon, I mean, the knowledge is growing in the world in general, so something that is not clear today, maybe tomorrow is going to be. The point is knowing where things are, knowing how you can reuse it, is making things available for the second life. That to me is one of the most difficult things. The transformation of object cannot start if you don't have things, if you don't track, if you don't have the possibility to drive things to the next life.
Yeah, completely. And then another follow-up from Cynthia actually is the plans to make a wider green credit system kind of across multiple commercial brands to help increase wider adoption?
That's pretty interesting question. This would be my dream. If you look in TD Commons, TD Commons is a public repository of defensive patent, or general. In 2018, I and 4 other people wrote a white paper exactly about that. What is called cross-cluster material sharing. And that would be my dream, and that I think is it makes a lot of sense, especially because this piece of plastic doesn't necessarily need to go in the same shape or in the same industry. Can go to somewhere else. Can be used maybe in the automotive industry or in the food industry. I don't know. That's actually the knowledge that we can apply when we know where things are and when we are putting the offer and the demand in touch by tracking this.
That's amazing. I think just one kind of final question around just looping back, I guess, to the opt-in stuff as well is how perhaps time consuming it can be for people using it as well, and kind of what the considerations are around that, and whether there's anything done from a research perspective about whether or not they feel overwhelmed, or whether it's a case of just constantly trying to innovate and make it as seamless as possible.
That's, I mean, you nailed it. As seamless as possible. So potentially there is no need for another application or something else, but all of this capability through the APIs, that's the key word, APIs. We can expose APIs to embed all of this in existing application, not to invent another one. Or, maybe you can have, just as you say, a general green credit application for all the things, or potentially you can enable things that are already happening. So for instance, most of the brand I know, fashion brand I know, they have loyalty application. We can simply enable those loyalty application to do something more through the APIs. And that I think is the best approach, because it has to be simple and it doesn't have to be, disruptive in the sense of user experience. We don't want people to learn something more. We want them to enjoy something more. That is actually what you can do with APIs.
Great, thank you very much. And I think we've had a couple more come through. We're obviously getting close to the time here. There's a slight delay our side, so we're a bit closer to 12. But just a quick one from Namrata, who has asked, is there any current water sensor data being collected and used for water sustainable usage?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, there are quite a few. I mean, the example, there are a couple in smart buildings. I know use cases in smart building. There are, Caldas de Reina, for instance, in the city in Portugal, and there are quite a few others. I'm familiar in other verticals, in plants, in production line, and so on. Yes, definitively, the smart water opportunity, it's huge.
Great. And then another one kind of just coming through now, just quickly is, are there any Cisco resources discussed today that are open source and available to use for the hack? And I think just to kind of expand on that from my perspective, I guess it'd be good to kind of tie things off with any last minute advice for the hackers. Obviously, they're talking around the circular economy and we've covered a lot today. So from like a design thinking mindset perspective, I think it'd be great to tie off with your thoughts around kind of how they can go about things.
I would definitely look at the Cisco DevNet, area where you can get a lot of free resources. You can get access to our APIs, you can get access to example and a lot of use cases and material that is there for helping people. You can sign for free, and you can use that. So DevNet is, if I had to start, it would be my first point of my first point of access, let's put it this way.
Amazing, thank you very much. And with that, I think the first session of Athena Hack is just about done. Angelo, Thank you so much for your time. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. I hope that you got out of it as much as we did. And I look forward to seeing you all on the sessions later today. If there are any questions, hop on Discord, let us know. But if not, look forward to seeing you again later. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you very much. Ciao.